Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Ksuvas page 107, which discusses the obligation that a husband has is to always make sure to provide mazonos, food, for his wife. So on this, the Talmud discusses a situation where a man just disappears. He goes to another country, and we don't know exactly what happened, whether or not the wife is able to collect mazonos, and if we're not able to easily get it, whether or not the court system is actually going to go into this man's estate to be able to make sure that she has food. Now, for the very first 3 months, everyone holds that the courts will not intervene. And the reason, as is brought down, is that a person is not just going to leave his house empty. The fact that the first 3 months have gone by, that afterwards becomes an issue. But within those first 3 months, we can assume that there's probably enough food in the house for her to be able to eat. And therefore, because of that, we're not going to go into his estate. However, after those 3 months have gone by, it becomes questionable. Now, if we actually heard that this man died, even if it turns out not to be the case afterwards, but if at the time we thought and heard that this man had died, so we certainly will go into his estate to make sure that she's able to have the proper amount of food and nourishment. Everyone agrees to that. In a situation also, if let's say there was an appointed individual who was a guardian of his estate, and for whatever reason they just stopped giving food to this woman, then certainly the courts will also intervene. The question arises, what happens if he just left? And we have no idea exactly what happened. We don't know if he died. So there is an opinion that says no, we're not going to intervene, because there is the possibility that a man, and probably if we're dealing with a true man who doesn't just run away from his responsibilities, he probably left literally a bag of money or coins specifically for her for this purpose. He didn't just leave, and therefore because he probably would have provided for her before he left, therefore the courts are not going to just assume that he's a deadbeat husband and ran away. Alternatively, however, there is an opinion that says no, he does have an obligation, and since we're unsure whether or not this actually took place, whether or not he left any money, therefore, we are going to go into the estate and we're going to take money so that she will have enough to eat. But again, we see from here a couple of important points, at least according to one opinion. First of all, when it comes to a person's home, a person would hopefully not have an empty home. This is obviously not talking only about wealthy people. Even people who are poor, they will at least have enough food, or if we could translate that as liquid assets or as some form of an emergency fund for at least a period of 3 months, so that the first 3 months, even if he is gone, that she will be able to survive and to be able to live off of that emergency fund, so that she'll have food even without the court's intervention. So even again, when we're talking about someone who may not be so wealthy, this is what the Talmud clearly is telling us is the parameter that a man would make sure occurs. And certainly we can learn from that on a financial level that we should not have an empty house, that if something happens and for whatever reason we're not able to provide, that for those first 3 months at least, we'll have enough money for our family. But secondly, as it's mentioned, a person, hopefully, if we're dealing with an upstanding individual, even if for whatever reason, let's say he went to another country, and it could be for a legitimate reason. He may have gone for business purposes. He could have been going to travel because he had some obligation over there which pulled him away from his family. But a real man is not just going to walk away from his family. He's going to make sure that there is money set aside so that when he leaves, his family will still have what to eat. And of course, we should all learn from this as well, that this is the real making of a true man, a man who doesn't just run away from his family, but one who will always make sure that they are provided for.